Welcome to the Bearded Finisher Podcast, your one-stop show for all things finishing and coatings. Your host, Zach, and a variety of industry experts will guide you through the art of perfecting your finishing and business game. From seasoned pros to fresh faces, get ready for tips, tricks, and trends to elevate your knowledge and business to the next level.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Bearded Finisher Podcast. Today's episode, you've all seen him online. We've got Michael Rossi of Cabinet Coats. He's just outside of Chicago. What is going on, Michael?
What's up, my man? Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Nice to see you finally. I know we've talked quite a bit online, and it's nice to get you on the show finally.
Absolutely. I'm pretty pumped for this.
So let's just let's jump in. You know, I tell everyone I try to keep it around an hour. So I know what you guys are all out there. Everyone listening to it's usually while we're painting, so I don't like to drag it on. But what's interesting is we start recording, and then you feel like you've been doing it for like 10 minutes, and look down, and you're like, oh shit, it's been an hour and 10 minutes. We got to wrap this up. every time everyone's like, holy crap, that went so fast.
I believe it.
Just kind of jump it in and tell us how you got started. I mean, tell us your background shows kind of construction and the painting side as well. I mean, where did it begin and how did it get to where you are now?
Well, to go way back, my dad owned a painting company. So, his favorite line to tell everybody is, I started bringing him around weekends and summers when he was 8, taping off light switch covers and all that little stuff.
Filling those nail holes.
Yeah. And then, let's jump back maybe like 10 years ago or so. I got into construction. The painter I worked for, we started doing some trim carpentry, and then he brought his dad up from Nebraska and taught us trim carpentry for about 2.5, 3 weeks. And maybe like the first week and a half of it, we were just going through the motions, doing whatever they said, not really paying too much attention. And I remember being at the chop saw, and I cut a 45-degree angle, and it just kind of hit me, and I stopped, and I was like, wait a minute, I could make some money doing this. So I started paying attention, and then maybe about a year later, that boss wound up going back to Nebraska. So I was kind of left on my own. So I jumped into painting and trim carpentry. And then someone asked me to do a bathroom, and I YouTubed it. I YouTubed how to do tile, how to do all that. And just slowly but surely opened up a construction company, Rossi Kitchen and Bath, and did 77 full kitchen remodels, 286 bathroom remodels, and that's kind of what I was doing up until about 2.5 years ago. And then I had a client asked me to refinish her or to redo her kitchen, and I gave her the price, and it was way over her budget. So she was like, can you just paint my cabinets? And I was like, I guess so. So we painted it, and she wound up asking for countertops and backsplash, and that's what we do now. And we did it, and I want to say like 9-10 days, and I was like, oh my God, I made a little bit of money. And ironically, the next week in the same town, a client asked me for the same exact thing. And we got that one done in 7 days, and I made a little bit of more money. And at that point, I said, this is a lot easier than full on construction. I'm making a better percent on the money. And I essentially within 30 days closed down my construction company and just went full force into cabinet coats. And the last kitchen I had done prior to that was right under $500,000. So I had gotten to the point where I was like, in construction, I thought, hey, this is it. I'm dealing with 3 designers on a project. It doesn't really get any more high end than this. And I just realized that it was really slow. There was still the same kind of issues, just way more expensive coming from other people. And we tend to be pretty fast and pretty meticulous. And it just didn't feel like the where I wanted to be. I didn't want to spend 60, 70 hours a week trying to continuously boss around guys 10, 15 years older than me in the trades, because I mean, I got a lot of great subs. I worked with a lot of great people, but I just felt like they didn't have the kind of drive and the tenacity and wanted to create the output I wanted to put. So, like, fast forward a little to when I did these two kitchens that we just refinished, new countertops, new backsplash. I just shut down the construction company, and everyone kind of thought I was crazy because I was at a really good point in my construction company, but I just saw the potential, and then I just went full force into it, and now all we do is cabinet refinishing, countertops, backsplash, under cabinet lighting, 9 to 11 days. That's my spiel, and I love it. I love it compared to general construction.
I mean, general construction is I've done some of that in my past. It's rough. I mean, it's high ticket, like you said, $500,000 kitchen, but you might make a decent amount. But when you start looking at percentages for just refinishing and new countertops, you're like, holy crap, my margins are a lot better and I can do it faster. It's not taking me 6 months to do a kitchen, 9 to 11 days.
Yeah, and that was the thing, and it's like, you're dealing with a bunch of, there's so many things that go into producing a kitchen and a bathroom at that level that no matter what, you don't have control of. You don't have control of. The last bathroom I did in that same house was, I don't know the exact number, but probably between 300,000 and 400,000. The tile was handmade, took 4 months to make. It wound up being 3 months late. So it's 7 months. What do you do? And then that stuff comes in, and now you're already, on another project, and now you've got to go back and you've got to have your setter meticulously put in $48,000 shower tile. Where a normal shower, let's say, would take a week to install, a couple days. This took 3 weeks because it was just intricate placement, and it was, a nightmare. And I was already into cabinet coats, trying to wrap that project up. And, I mean, it wound up probably taking a year to get everything completely and utterly done to where, I could do 100 cabinet coats kitchens in that time frame.
Yeah. I mean, I remember jumping in and dabbling a little bit to the GC. People would ask me, can you redo the basement? Can you redo all the kitchen, new appliances, and quote it? And I probably did about half a dozen. And I feel like I'm about like you. I'm like, it's fun, but God dang, is it a lot of work?
Yeah, and it just, at the end of the day, I've realized this year that, yeah, I love what I do, to an extent. I'm not one of those guys who is like, I love refinishing, it's my life. I've realized that my life is my family. And I spent way too much time. I spent 15 years building businesses, and it's what everyone knows about me. It's my identity. And it took me just a few months to realize that's not the identity I want. I'm trying to work as little as possible, to be completely honest with you. I I love making money. That's what I love. I love creating something, and I'm able to do that a couple times a week now. I'm not in love with having, an amazing construction company. I think cabinet refinishing and countertops and what I do now, it's simple, it's easy, it can give an amazing transformation, and I'm in and out, and I collect a great buck, and I move on to the next. And I I went into it knowing that I could just create systems and processes so that I don't have to be in the spray shop right now spraying doors. I don't have to be on site doing everything. I mean, does that still happen sometimes? Sure, but 10% compared to, like, I can train someone to spray a door. I can train someone to measure a backsplash and that stuff, but try training someone in 30, 60, 90 days to do an average $60,000 bathroom. That takes years. That takes years to train people to do it the way you want.
Well, and on the other side of it is I used to tell people, and I used to tell my guys, I'm like, oh, what are you doing today? I said, well, I'm out finding you more work, you know? Well, if you can do this, why don't you do it? And I'm like, well, if I'm doing that, I don't need you, but I need you to do that so I can go find more work. But it it's kind of like what would tell people that, I'm coaching into this and getting into this coaching side of it is great. You can train people with processes, like you said, to do the painting, to do the measuring. Training someone to care about your success is hard. You have to take responsibility for your own success. Now, most entrepreneurs have that mindset of, you want to help people further their career. Like when I had my company, I thought nothing better and nothing was more amazing than when one of my guys said, hey, Zach, I think I want to try this on my own. I think you've taught me enough. I think I can do it. Man, there's a crap ton of houses out here. We're not probably going to be fighting for the same work. There's plenty of work for all of us. Man, that's like, it's almost like one of your kids. Your kid starts walking or they start riding a bike. I mean, your employees are kind of like the same thing. You nurture them, and if they go out, I mean, you can bring more people in because you've got the processes down. But it's teaching them to care about other people, to care about their employees, and not think that everyone's replaceable, because everyone's not replaceable. You got to put the right people in the right places, and then you got to manage them. The job in itself. I mean, it's not even, painting is one job. Owning a business is a whole nother mindset, a whole nother skill set.
Yeah, and that's it. You either work in the business or on the business, and I talk to guys almost every day that will ask me stuff. Um, and I think, yeah, and the success is on the side of all the work you don't want to do, and it's a battle, and it's I'm OCD about things and ADHD about things, and I want everything done the way I want to do it, but I've read enough books to know if I can find someone to do it, 70, 80% as good as I can do it, you gotta just let it go, let them do it. Maintain a standard, of course, but that goes with company culture. No one, I've got 6 guys that work for me, or 6 people, 5 guys, 1 girl, and everyone knows the standard here. And that was me beating it into them, but now everyone lives by that standard, and everyone is, an extension of me on the job sites. I never thought I'd get to a point where, like, I don't show up to job sites anymore. I don't show up to job sites anymore. I meet people in our initial in-home consultation. I collect the deposit check, and then usually that's the last time they see me. And we still get 5-star reviews. I've yet to have an unhappy client yet. And things go wrong every day. Every day something goes wrong. That is never going to change. It's just about the way you can handle that. And then you teach your guys to handle that. And that to me is winning. And I know there's people who love to do it and will always love to refinish or install tile or, do countertops, whatever. That's just not me. I like running the business. I like spending more time with my family. And that's what my goal, is, and what I set up for Cabinet Coats.
Yeah. And I think I was similar. Like when I had the company, I was growing, I had 6 guys and got all the way up to 12. Don't do that, by the way. It's not fun. and then went back down to 6. You know, you find that sweet spot of where you don't have to be basically feeding the monster. You have a team that you trust. You take care of that team. They take care of you by taking care of the work. And it just, you know, there towards the end, before I sold my business, like I wouldn't do estimates after 3. Didn't do an estimate before 9. Took the kids to school and picked them up every day. Didn't do estimates on weekends. You know, just kind of got to that. You get in that sweet spot where it's coming in. You can kind of set your hours. You've got a great team. They know what they're going to do. Your shop guys, your on-site guys. I mean, and it just starts flowing, and it's magic. I mean, you can want to grow to 20 guys. I've got a buddy who's got a business in Oklahoma that has, I think he's at like 40 guys now, 30 or 40 guys now. And it's just, and he loves it. He loves the madness of having 3 or 4 estimators. And I'm just like, yeah, that just sounds like craziness.
I think you said it, like he loves the madness. I think that's it. You know, it's everyone's perception. Everyone perceives what success is in their own way. And I mean, like when I created Cabinet Coats, I wrote a 12-page business plan on how I wanted to do it and what my goals were. And my goal is, from the inception, is to sell this bad boy. I'm not looking to hold on to it forever. I'm looking to build it and scale it. Year 1 through 2 was kind of figuring out what the hell we're doing. And then year 3 through 5 is the growth phase. And then 6 through 10 is where we start figuring out, you know, the distribution and getting rid of it. I'm hoping 2025 that we're going to open up another shop somewhere else. I think I kind of got it figured out now to that point. But yeah, I mean, it's the perception of what is your success, you know, and what you're comfortable with.
Well, what's the, you know, like the books, you know, what's the short-term plan? What's the long-term plan? What's your 10-year goal? All right. And then let's work backwards. You got your 10-year goal. What's your 7-year goal? What's your 5-year? What's your 3-year? And they're all based on what your 10-year goal is. If your 10-year goal is to sell the company, then you got to, you know, work backwards. SOPs, processes, build a brand that's not Mike. It's Cabinet Coats.
Yep, exactly.
Lean it out, you know. I mean, I've been reading a lot of books about goal setting. I never was real big on that, but now my wife is huge on it, and I've just always been like, now I'm like, damn it.
Well, and that's exactly it. Is I think you realize, like with Rossi Kitchen and Bath, I put my name in the company, Rossi, because I was the brand. I would get jobs because people knew what I was capable of and what the outcome would be. And with Cabinet Coats, I specifically created the name Cabinet Coats because that's a name that could go all over the country. That's a name that will work anywhere. And then I just didn't want to assimilate too much of it with myself. Now, if you've seen my ads, I'm in all the ads, but what I've realized is I can be running those ads all over the country, and it doesn't mean that I've got to be there, you know? And I think that's important because you do have to figure out what you want, you know? You got to know what you want.
So as far as Cabinet Coats, you're in what, year 3, 4?
I'm 2.5 years old.
2.5 years old. I mean, you've done amazing things in 2.5 years because you guys, I mean, have quite the presence online. Your ads are everywhere. I mean, how do you do your own ads? Do you have a guy that helps you with those?
Yeah, so I one time read a book. I don't remember what book it was. One super amazing book I think everyone needs to read is from Dan Mattel, Buy Back Your Time. I try pushing that book every day to someone that I talk to in my DMs because I think it is life-changing because you realize that if you're not doing something to to make money for the company, it's a waste. Like there's times I'm in the shop at 9 o'clock at night sanding doors because, we're overbooked or something happened. And I do what I got to do. But at the end of the day, when I get done, I'm like, fuck, I should have been doing something else. It's a waste of time for me to be doing that. But I've got a 23-year-old out of Florida who runs all my ads. I've been working with him for 2 years now. They handle all my ads, all my editing. They tell me what to create. I go into the shop, I create it, and then I send it over to them, and then they chop it up, they edit it, they run. We get 99% of our business from Instagram and Facebook. Um, I mean, just to kind of give you an idea, I mean, we spend.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's the spend look like on a monthly basis? Nothing, you know, I'm to exact.
We did like 8,500 last month. I spent on ads.
Gross sales last month.
I did 133,000. In September, we're already at 59,000. So it's a lot of work. It's definitely, I think a really important thing is to know that it's going to be a lot harder than you think it is. It's going to take a lot longer than you think it is. But as long as you know that and you keep pushing forward, you're only going to lose if you quit. And I mean, that's what I tell myself. And, in May, we did like 86,000. Then June, we did 24,000. Then July, I only did 8,000 in new sales. And I was like, oh my God, what is going on? Because it still cost me like 30K a month to run this show. And we just kept hitting it and kept hitting it and kept hitting it and trying new things and pushing forward. And like I said, we did 133 for August, and we're already at 59 for this month.
It's interesting. I was talking to a buddy. His name's Peter Catrona. He's been on the show. He's in the raw material side, but he's been around a while, and he always says that. And if you really think about it, this will be interesting. I'm gonna get your take on this. If you're slow right now, what were you doing 90 days ago? Because the sales process is typically about 90 days behind from full turn. So if you look at August, how much did you run in ads in August or in May or April? And if you start and I would start thinking about stuff like that on the manufacturing side when I was on that side, and I was like, shit, that's that has a little bit of, that has some bite to it, because you start thinking about 3 months ago and you're like, oh, we had best month ever. We were like, high fiving, but we weren't prepping.
Exactly. And it's funny you say that, because when being self-aware, I think, is a curse and a gift. I don't think a lot of people are very self-aware, and I think it's definitely something I am. And like I said, I think it's a curse and a gift, because you're able to just look inward and say, well, what did I do wrong, or what did I do right? And I think it's one of the biggest keys to success is it's always your fault. Whether you're winning or you're losing, it's your fault. And I hear people every day complain about this, complain about that. I don't give a shit what's happening. I'm going to win no matter what, because that's where my mind is set. And I've gone through some really, really tough times, and all that's done is made me dig my heels in the ground, pay attention to what got me here. And then you start figuring out, well, how do I get out, and how do I make this never happen again? Like me, and I think a lot of other people, one of the biggest problems is you try to carry too many things on your plate. I'm lucky. I haven't done an estimate in probably 8 months. I don't do any of my own estimating. I've got Rosie, my office manager, and she handles all of our estimating, our scheduling. She handles everything in the office for me, so that I can just focus on organization, getting new work, getting new jobs, making sure everything's running smooth, quality control to say, and then I'll fill in where I have to fill in.
Leaning out the
But
SOPs and things like that. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's just a big factor to moving in the right direction, because where do I always feel the most stressed out is when I'm back on the tools, when I'm back spraying, because I'm like, I'm not supposed to be doing this. Rosie moved my 3 o'clock appointment to 5 o'clock because I'm doing something, and then oh, that's not what you're supposed to be doing, because it doesn't, spraying this door ain't bringing me no money.
No, it's not. That's where one of my favorite books, and I'm really into this guy right now. It's an author named Benjamin Nelson. Have you heard of him?
I don't think so.
Oh man, he's got a series of books that I'm into. Who Not How is just talks about you don't need to know how to do everything. You find a who. Don't figure out how to do it. Find a who knows how to do it. And that gives you, and he talks about it, this is the principle to all of his books, and it's with an entrepreneur guy, is who not how. And if you really embrace the who not how, you get into the 5 freedoms. It's freedom of money, freedom of time, freedom of relationships, time, money, relationships. I can't remember the last 2. But where you don't have to worry about freedom, and then you don't have to worry about relationships. You're focused on transformative relationships, not transactional relationships that are going to grow your business. And that goes into what's the second book? It's going to drive me crazy now. I'll open Spotify real quick. No, Audible, and because I am not real big on reading, but I love listening.
I audible a book every week, man. I can't read to save my life, but I can listen like a devil.
I can't find the time to sit down and read, but whether
That's how
I'm
I fall asleep.
walking or I'm working out or just cleaning or just anything, I'm working in the yard or working outside on the bus, just pop in the earbuds and Audible. But one of the next ones is 10X is easier than 2X. Dude, that's a book you got to read. I mean, it's Benjamin Nelson, and he kind of goes over the theory behind it, focusing on the 20%, not the 80%. Get out of your mind, and your 20% is going to change. It's never going to be the same. It's always going to evolve. So you have to be conscious that it's always evolving, because like right now, your 20% is maybe $20,000 kitchen jobs. That's what you want to focus on. Do less, make more. I mean, business. But when that becomes when the $20,000 job becomes the 80%, you have to recognize that and then find the new 20%. Otherwise you get stuck. Always get stuck in the 80%.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a great point where we all tend to get stuck, or we get comfortable. I've really gotten to a point where comfort is the enemy. I don't ever want to be comfortable. Now and I'm not saying don't enjoy what you do, don't be happy with your successes, but if you're young and you're able to keep moving, man, keep moving, because I told someone this yesterday. It's really hard to become rich. It's also really hard being broke. Choose your hard,
That's a good point. Yeah.
Everything, 99% of things are easier with a lot of money and a really profitable business. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard any way you look at it. But the more you keep pushing forward and not staying satisfied, the easier it becomes. I truly, truly believe that you have to just continue to push. We were on August 28th. I got home probably about 9:30, and I'm sitting on my bed, and Christy's next to me, and I got my laptop out, and I'm kind of running through the numbers for the month, and I'm looking at all the stuff Rosie sent me, and I'm like, adding everything up, and I'm like, oh my God, we just did 133. And she's like, oh my God, babe, that's amazing. That's so awesome. And I go, yeah. And then I took this long pause, and about 2 minutes later, she looks over at me and she goes, what's wrong? And I go, nothing. And she goes, are you trying to figure out how to make more? And I'm like, but we could do 200 if we could do 133. And she's like, are you ever going to be happy? And I'm like, of course I'm happy, but there's nothing wrong with figuring out how to push more. The the 59,000 we've nailed for this month, I nailed on the 29th and the 30th of last month. I just haven't been able to get to their house and collect checks yet, so I can't count it in that month. But now I've already set that month up this month for 59,000 already. Everything could go bust this month and I'm still in the green huge. And that didn't come from being content. That came from looking at it, relishing in it for a couple minutes, and then saying we could do more, because we can all do more. And I think a lot of the times there's just a bad vibe to, you're never happy, you're always pushing, aren't you ever satisfied? There's nothing wrong with wanting more.
No, like another one of the books I just remembered, it's called The Gap and the Gain, and it talks about the mindset of humans. As from early age at school, you're taught to always, and it kind of goes in with the 10x is easier than 2x, is it starts talking about, are you in the gap mindset or the gain mindset? The gap mindset is you get to the end of the day and you're like, write down 3 things that you won today. And it could be brushing your dang teeth. It doesn't matter. What did you plan on doing today? What are 3 things that you did today that you count are wins? And what are 3 wins tomorrow? So you celebrate your wins, and you might have not gotten some things done, but those can still be done tomorrow. Like, celebrate your wins, plan for the next day. And I mean, that's a great way to, hey, you did $130,000. Yeah, let's go. Next goal is 150,000.
Because that happened yesterday. Today's a new day.
Exactly. You got to, you celebrate your success, and you got to plan for the success. Don't live that, you didn't get 200, you didn't get 150. Cool. I got it. Now my new goal is this.
And I remember when we set our goals and we were thinking, we got to do like 38,000 a month, and we'll be doing awesome. It's going to be great. And I could have easily gotten to that and only had 2 guys working for me and set that. But as soon as we hit that goal, I realized that it was a little easier than I thought it would be. Now, mind you, that's because we worked our ass off to get there. That no matter what, you got to just factor in is you're going to have to work your ass off at all times.
Yeah.
But you realize, damn, I could do 38. And then I realized, damn, I could do 50. And I mean, I could do 80. And then next thing you know, you're doing more than you ever thought you could do. And what is that? What is the result from that? Well, I was able to hire more guys that are able to take care of their families. My guys are able to get overtime when they want. They got huge raises. I'm really big in believing in taking care of the people that take care of you, because the happier my guys are, the more they produce. Rosie, my office manager, she gets a little percentage of every single sale we do. Every sale we do, whether her hands touch it or not, she gets a cut of. And you know what that does? She pulls people from our CRM from 2 years ago. Hey, did you ever get those cabinets done, or you want to do it? I mean, she works her ass off for it, because she knows she gets her weekly paycheck, and she gets a commission based on everything.
And it always, and it also, if you take care of the people that take care of you, it builds that loyalty that goes with the brand and can go with brand goals that you have. I mean,
yeah.
People used to be amazed that, my father-in-law started the company, instilled a lot of these goals in me, and I bought it from him. But Our most senior guy was 28 years. Our youngest guy was 15 years with the company.
Wow.
I mean, you get that kind of loyalty, and people offer them more money, but they're loyal to you. They're loyal to your company, and you do that. And like what we were talking about earlier, you get to the point where you want to step back more. You want to go take a 2-week vacation. You can do that. That's why it's so important to take care of the people that help you grow that business. You've got to invest as much into them as you do in the business, because that's where your freedom comes from. Is they're like, "No, boss, we got this. We'll only holler if we got a problem. All right, I'll do payroll while I'm gone." It means the world. I mean, what was it? Somebody once said, I just had a guy who said, everyone's replaceable. And I had another buddy that was like, yeah, I agree. Everyone is replaceable. The only question is it an upgrade or a downgrade?
Yeah. And how much time is it going to take
to get that person to where your other person? I mean, so yeah, everyone's replaceable. That is a true statement, but there's a big but in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Company culture. I think too many people lack on company culture, and the Culture Code, phenomenal book that I've read. And that's what kind of gave me all that inspiration towards that. Is it really helped me understand what company culture is, and the dynamic that you need. Because like I said, dude, we're not perfect at all. I mean, we have mess ups all the time. We've got a million things in the pot at all times, and things happen. And I'm the type that wants to fly off the handlebars and start screaming. And I realized that, you get more bees with honey than you do shit. And it's not, there's a time and a place to lose it, of course. But I think if you build a good company culture, um, you're going to see the sincerity when things get messed up in your guys. And I see that over and over again when it's a big thing that gets screwed up or a little thing that gets screwed up. And that's what lets me know, hey, you got to be doing something right, because these guys feel for you when my guys feel for me when a mistake happens. They're not afraid to stay late if on site if they got to stay late. They're not afraid to work on a Saturday if they got to work on a Saturday. And they're not afraid to go above and beyond. We call it the 90-10. You don't go 90% of the way and then fuck it up on the last 10%. And I see that all the time, and we will literally look at ourselves and, like, let me give you an example. Let's say we're painting something and then we see a little, all the tools are in the truck, and then you see a little spot in the corner that needs to be caulked, but really no one's really going to notice that or really care. But we both see it, and then we both look at each other and we'll just be like, 90-10, man, go get it. And that's, that's it. And then we just try to instill the fact that, like, the way you do one thing is typically the way you do everything. And if you try to produce amazing results and always be on top of things at work, that trickles into, your life. I mean, all my guys now, we all started eating healthy. We all started working out. We trade protein drinks. We trade dinner recipes and pictures. I know it sounds crazy, but like, we've realized as a team that just being better in every avenue of your life just leads to a better life. And, that's super important.
Yeah. I mean, it just really helps for those core values. But at the same time, while you're doing that, I lead back to, and I wish I would have known this when I was in business, Skylar at Surf Prep never wrote down core values, how important it is to write down your core values and your principles as a business owner. And their core value they have written down on the wall is have fun. That's their final core value. You got to have fun. Like, I get it's work and you can, but like you said, you're trading recipes. Everybody's getting into shape. That's having fun. That's, and it affects all the way to your workers' families, all the way down. And if they have fun at work, they're going to have fun at home. If they have a crappy day at work, guess what? That's going to go home too.
Well, and I think, going more on what you just said, is it's that there are tons of times we do stuff that is not fun, but because they know the culture here, it's not looked at that maybe they might not always be having fun, but they know it needs to get done. And then when it gets done, the feeling of accomplishment is so overwhelming that maybe that shit wasn't fun. Maybe we didn't have fun this last 2 weeks because it was a nightmare job, but now we did it and we did it the best we could do it. And that's just, it's a high you can't get from any drug, so
Well, it's like, if you can take, and sorry to all those nice Karens out there, but if you can take a Karen and get hell of a job and you get a 5-star review out of it, I mean,
exactly.
that's like a high a drug can't give you. I mean, you can ride that for a couple months. You're just like, yeah, no one else could make her happy, but I did.
Exactly. And that goes into perception again. How do you perceive things? Do you perceive something hard as, oh, fuck, I don't want to do this? We perceive hard as, let me show you what we got. And I know it sounds cheesy, but it's just the truth. Every time you get kicked in the head, you just got to look at it and say, all right, well, what did I learn and how can I do this and how can I overcome this? And then you realize that, like, there'll be so many times we'll stop and I'll be like, Bob, we're just fucking cabinet painters. We're not brain surgeons. And he'll be like, you're right. I'm like, dude, just give it your best shot. We will survive. And we survive every single time, and it's the way you perceive it.
My wife's grandfather used to always say, hey, we're not building Swiss watches here. We're just painting cabinets. We're not building Swiss watches. I had a guy, my foreman, who actually ended up buying my company when I moved down here to Texas. His name's Edgar. Great guy. I mean, I learned a ton from him going into the business. Still teaching him a lot on the business side of stuff. But we had this contractor that hired us. We did a lot of work for him. He's like, man, this lady, she's brutal. She only unlocks the door at 9 a.m. She'll sit there and stare at you from 8 to 9 and won't unlock the door till 9. She doesn't care. She gripes. She complains about everything. I mean, showing me these text messages. He said, just remember that when you do the bid. Did the bid. She took it. Go there. First day, I mean, I was like, all right, this is going to be one of those guys. Just get ready. So I put Edgar on it. And he's like, don't worry. I got it, boss. Don't worry. I got it. Day 2. I show up. He's inside at 8:30 and she's making him breakfast. I'm like,
amazing.
I mean, he had that. He understood the culture. And then, I mean, I think one day, like every day at like 3:00, 2:33, she would bring him coffee and cookies and have him take a break. We're to go in the kitchen. So she had a little kitchen set. She'd make them little espressos and bring them in there. And Scott and I, the contractor, walk in there one time and we're just like, what are you guys doing? And she was like, we're fine. You guys just go. All right. Turn around and walk out. But that's the stuff that you go that extra mile. To this day, I don't know what he did to put her mind at complete ease, but it doesn't matter. He did it. He understood what the assignment was and he got it done.
Yeah.
That goes back into that where you're saying you trust your guys, know what they're doing. You teach them the right values, the right principles of the company and what you stand for. And they buy into that. You're golden.
Yeah. Because they're just an extension of you, and if I feel like if I flew off the handlebars all the time, I'm at the end of the day, I'm a people pleaser that's trying to figure out the biggest thing that I deal with is I'm super nice at heart. I'm 100% a people pleaser. But one thing I've said over the last few years is I completely understand why you see a lot of 65, 75-year-old GCs that are complete assholes, because people will beat you down. People will beat you down if you give them the opportunity to. And not everyone, but it only takes 10% of the people to do that, to harden you, because we're in the service business and we're dealing with people all the time. And it speaks volumes when you're able to combat that negativity or that anger with kindness, or just to continue to deliver in a positive way. And I think that's just it. It will always prevail to be nice and to produce the best you can produce, and figure out how to overcome that really tough person. Again, it's almost like it's a challenge. Do you accept the challenge or not? Just because they're being shitty to you, that doesn't mean you have to be shitty back to them. 9 out of 10 times, you hit them with some love, they might be a little snarky. You hit them with some more love, they might be a little snarky. You hit them with some more love. It's very rare they're going to continue to be an asshole.
At some point, most people check themselves and be like, oh, okay, I'm kind of being an ass here. I need to back up.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I've definitely run into a couple people that were just super difficult, where they didn't want to pay my 30% deposit. They wanted to do 10%. And, typically I'd fly off the handlebars, tell them I don't need the job. And it just turned into, all right, well, we'll show you how good we are. And what's crazy is every one of those hard knuckle dudes that I ran into have written me 5-star reviews and are phenomenal people that still get Christmas cards from my family every year now, because they're, most people are good people.
Yeah, and then you have to, as a business owner, at one point or another, if you realize that you don't always have to have the win. Like, some people just want to say they won, and that's fine. Like, we can come to a middle ground and you can feel like you won, but I'm still getting the business and you're still giving me a review. So you did win, but you don't always have to win in the moment. And I think, especially men, we're pretty bad about that. Of always, whether it's buying or selling a car, having work done, you always want the win. You always want to be buying on marketplace. Oh, I got him down this much. Yeah, I got it, man. You always want that last little bit, and it works, but you have to know when to say, okay.
I'm buying a spray booth right now, and I found it off Facebook Marketplace. And this guy just keeps throwing these freaking curveballs at me. Like, you got to fix the roof on the top of the ceiling from the port. And I'm like, you never said that to me in the beginning. And he's like, oh, that's standard. No, you've got to. And I'm getting this thing for $12,000 cheaper than he paid for it. And it's almost new. So I was like, just shut up. Let him have it. Just let him have it. His business is going under. You need another booth. I mean, just put it into perspective. And it's exactly what you're talking about, because it's so hard
Let
to
him
not
have
be
the
like,
win.
what did you say to me?
I don't
But
need your stuff.
yeah, but you got to shut your mouth and see, at the end of the day, whether you're getting the review or you're getting the booth for 10,000 cheaper, you're both winning in some aspect. So it's not always worth the fight.
We bought this booth. Man, this guy said we had to come take it down. I remember this. It was nuts. We go in there. It was like an old picture frame company in Oklahoma. Like, they made just rustic picture frames. I don't know. It was weird, but they went out of business, and they had this booth, and it was like an 8x8x8 open face. I think actually it was an 8x10. It was 10 deep by 8 tall. And we go in there, and I mean, I'm not kidding you, that thick on the floor. Just caked paint. It was everywhere. So we're scraping this off. I've got a buddy of mine. Guys are working. Got a buddy of mine. Bailed him, said, hey, I'll buy you lunch. We just got to tear this thing down. And we get there, and I went, all right, I'll buy you 2 lunches. Let's get this thing going. And I still to this day can't remember what happened. There was so much caked paint, and it was lacquer. I mean, you just opened the door and you got smacked with lacquer smell. And it was thick. You're scraping it off the floor, the walls. There's dust. Oh, I remember what happened. He said the power was off. Power wasn't off.
Oh my God.
We had 3/4 of the booth taken down and out, and there was this conduit on the backside. And we're like trying to get it off, but it was attached to it. And we're unhooking it. And my buddy's an electrical engineer, and he's unhooking it. And he's like, whoa, this shit's hot. And I'm like, oh, crap, let me find a breaker. So I'm looking for a breaker. And he's like, all right, I think we're okay. Well, around the corner, we'd been throwing up dust and the scraped paint that were getting off the floor because it was like glued to the floor from all the overspray lacquer. Spark. It started. And once it spread, grabbed a fire extinguisher, tried to put it out. Ran out of the building. 30 minutes later, fire department's up. Whole building's gone. Oof.
What?
Burned down the entire metal building. There was propane.
Oh my God.
There was propane tanks inside this thing. And I'm like, fire department gets there. It's like propane tanks in the office. There's propane tanks in the office. Like once it got a hold of that lacquer film that was on everything, it just, and we're just sitting there on the curb going, what the F just happened?
Oh
it was so
God.
fast. It was like a matter of maybe 5 minutes, and that whole thing was engulfed in flames.
I could only imagine.
It was nuts. And the part that we had saved, we had taken panels out and put them on the truck and taken the fan off and put, everything. We had just, and the fan was just blowing up into, it didn't go out the building. They just had the fan coming up, and it was just blowing it on the ceiling, the overspray. And we had half of it, I would say 3/4 of it on the trailer. Fire department's like, hey, you guys all good? Yeah. They're like, all right, you can go. Never heard a thing ever again about it. But it was probably 5,000 square foot steel building. Done. So make sure the power's off when you go get that booth.
I actually have an electrician on my staff that's coming with me. Yeah. That's
fun.
Never
even, the guy was like, yeah, and the lights didn't come on. We had the doors open. It was hot. It was like June or July. So it was Oklahoma. It was hot. Had the doors open. There's no fans. They had another company next door. They had another 5,000 square foot building. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Dude, that story took a turn that I didn't think was going there.
Burned down the building, the whole thing. It was gone. You were just like, fire department's there. They're spraying it all down, and we're just kind of sitting on the trailer going. His name's Zach too. He's my best friend since 3rd grade, and we're just sitting there going to each other like, what just happened? Did that building really just burn down? We got this whole booth for like $1,500.
Oh, wow.
Well, we got 3/4 of it. The other rest of it was kind of, the rest of it was a little black and kind of mangled.
Wow. So that makes my Thursday not so bad then, I guess.
Just someone's always going to have a worse day.
Yeah, no, for real though.
And it's like, we're having a bad day, but
not as bad as him.
Not as bad as the guy that owned the building. Yeah, that was probably the craziest thing I've ever witnessed. It was so fast. First step was run for a fire extinguisher. And then it was so fast. It was like,
oh, I could only imagine.
It was like this big. I'm not kidding you. It's like the size of it wasn't little bitty flames. And then you run and grab a fire extinguisher and the whole wall's on fire. And then it starts going up the ceiling and you're like, we got to go.
Do you ever see when they light, like when there's cotton trees and they light the grass on fire and it just probably just like that? I would assume just like that.
It was like that, just a lot. It seemed like a lot hotter because of the lacquer. My friend, that exact same friend and I, we were in junior high, and he parents had a shop, and it was next to this big cornfield. They had 5 acres, and the cornfield was like 100. And at one time he was welding on something. Yeah, that field went up quick. It's just a spark, and it just went. And he's like, oh yeah, it's like my dad's done it twice. We just, it'll burn itself out. And I'm just like, I'm starting to see a theme between he and I. But man, yeah, that was crazy. So let me ask you, I know we're coming up on an hour, so I don't want to keep too much longer. You got stuff to do, but real quick, any specific strategies that you guys have used, that you've used with cabinet coats, that have helped you guys with that success that somebody else might be able to use?
Systems and processes for sure, I think, I think are the hardest thing and the most important thing. Uh, Realizing that you need to run the business, not be in the business. And, one thing that I did that we didn't talk about, from the inception, I took the first, or not first, I did 15 jobs. And then I took the last 10 of those jobs, I case studied them. So, I put every single bit of information about them into their own little packet, right? And then I took that case study and I went to an investor and I pitched him cabinet coats because I realized that the more money I have, the faster I can grow and I can scale. So I wound up selling within my first year. I sold 20% of my company for a pretty big chunk of money. And that's what gave me the cash to expand, and then I've got a 4,000 square foot warehouse that I work out of. But that's what gave me the ability to do it all. Don't, you know, I don't think you should be afraid to cut a slice off to someone, to get the capital you need. I think capital is super important. I think it's what kills most people, most businesses. Is you get stuck in this situation where it's just enough. But what no one ever wants to talk about or realize is the more money you make, typically the more money you start spending, right? So I said, forget that. And I sold a chunk off for some cash. And then I took that cash and I dumped it all back into the business. And I think that's, I think that's the biggest thing that allowed me to scale as fast as I scaled, is having cash flow,
And that cash flow that you invested back in, I would be willing to say has, in the 2 years, if not already, almost paid for the 20% you gave up because you've been able to scale that fast.
Oh yeah, because I was, before I sold a chunk, I would look at things and be like, okay, well, I think we can do, 500,000 a year. My projections is we're shooting for 3 million in sales for 2025. After that, it's up. You That's really hard to do it. Not saying it can't be done, but that's really hard to do if you're pinching pennies. I June, July, I lost tens of thousands of dollars. I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have a stack of cash. You know what I mean? And that came from, because you're always going to get scared. There's going to be a point, no matter what, you're going to hit rock bottom. It's part of the process, man. It doesn't just go up.
And then you have to, and I used to tell guys this too, and it was one of the harder lessons to learn. Month to month is great. You have to watch it month to month, but you also have to accept the fact that not every month is going to be a winner.
100%.
It's a cumulative process. It's the year. Granted, you want to make your quarterly goals. You got to know what your annual goal is, know what your quarterly goal is, know what your monthly goal is. And if you have consecutive months that are, 6 months a year, you're down. Okay, it's time to look at something. But, if you're down a couple months and then you're up huge one month and then up good another month, your year can be great. That's why I always tell guys that are growing a business, give yourself a salary, a painter salary. I think Uncle Sam defines it 50, 60K, somewhere around there. Give yourself a salary and then do a payout at the end of the year. That you don't, if you do an S Corp, you can get out of paying some taxes if you go with an S Corp and you do stock distribution. Great if you can get that set up like that. But, you don't have to take all the money out because you're not going to win every month. Like, you're going to need some of the stuff from this 3 months that just happened to maybe cover a couple months that people just assume it's too damn hot and they don't want to do anything.
Yeah. Well, and I think, the only, I failed my way to success. That's the best way I could explain it. I am not afraid to, that's actually, I think, a really important thing people should focus on is don't be afraid to spend money. I look at money as a tool. I don't,
100%.
that's
We've
all it
talked
is
about
to
that.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I blow a lot of money on testing stuff out and, I sometimes it sucks. Sometimes I lose. Like TikTok for me doesn't work, and it cost me 15 grand to figure that out. But now I know. I'm not worried about it, and I didn't lose a wink of sleep on it. I just, that's the game you're in. If you're sitting here trying to hold on to all your cash, you're doing it wrong because you might have a little bit more money than me, let's say this month and that month. But if I continue to keep dishing money out on, we're assuming on good things, eventually something's going to stick. And now I know what to dump a bunch of money into, and I'm just going to blow past you. And that's what I've continued to do is I just fail my way until I figure it out the right way. And, that's what's worked for me. And I think too many people just want to hold back.
A lot of entrepreneurs are like that. I mean, you're going to fail. The sooner you accept that, my wife and I are fairly risk adverse. We're not big on taking huge risk. I mean, but that's what we're evaluating that process right now because we're considering buying an RV resort. It's my 20% right now. It's like that's my goal is I want to own an RV resort. So the question is, where do you want to go big? I want to go big and buy one that almost going to cost me $3-4 million, but it comes fully staffed and basically is running itself. Can that annual revenue cover the debt service, or do we want to start small and buy like a 20 to 30 spot one and grow it? And I'm like, that's the ongoing discussion we're having right now. She's a little more risk adverse than I am, but she's in finance. So, and that's good. It's like a good balance trying to find that happy medium, but you're right. I mean, the more I read about successful entrepreneurs and, how these guys have made it, it's exactly what you said. It's failing. If you're afraid of going bankrupt, you're not going to go anywhere. You just can't be afraid of that stuff because that will kill your passion.
Yeah, and then you're going to be 80 years old sitting there going, "What if?" And I can't do that. And I've gotten to a point in my life where I have just that burn inside me where I'm like, I know I can do more, and I want to crawl into my grave just fucking shot and giving it everything I got because I've gone broke numerous times. And I hope it never happens again. But if it does, I got the tenacity to figure out how to pull myself out of it. And that is life. That's life.
What is it? Herman Cain would always say on I used to listen to his radio show, you work 3 jobs so you can afford to work 2, and you work 2 jobs so you can afford to work 1. If you go broke, just start over, get 3 jobs and keep 3 jobs until you can figure out how to do 2 and do it again. I mean, you can't take it with you.
Yeah. And it's just about, that's what I feel like, we all need to go to the extreme. And I think we're kind of in a comfort culture right now. And
the 80%.
And it's just, it's stupid to me. I mean, if that's how you want to be, that's how you want to be. But like, there's comfort in knowing that you're doing the best you can do. And I know everyone gauges it differently and everyone has, families and this and that and whatnot. But if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, I mean, you got to push it like this is your last day because you're never going to be dissatisfied that you gave it every single thing you got.
You're never going to look back and go, man, I tried my hardest. That was dumb.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. And I mean, there, there's been tons of things I failed at, but all those failures led me to where I am now. And you know, I, I'm sitting pretty nice.
You've learned something from every one of those failures.
Yeah, and that's what's cultivated what I have now. Nothing comes from winning.
You don't get anywhere by not trying.
Yeah. What did Tony Robbins said it? When you win, you celebrate. When you lose, you ponder. So he said something along those lines, and you figure everything out in the darkest moments. That's where a lot of the greatest achievements come from. And if you're too scared to ever, go there, you're never going to know what your true potential is. And like I said, I remember when 30 grand a month was like, oh, we do 30 grand a month, babe. We're going to be, oh, okay, this is going to be great. And, now we can do 130, 200,000 a month. And it's a complete different life you're able to create for yourself and everyone around you. And I believe that as, being the head of my household, that's my duty. That's my duty to push it for my wife, for my kids, for my family, for everyone around me, for my employees. And I just think too many people look at it in a soft way, or like, oh, what about this? What about that? Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm tired. I'm fucking tired every day.
They stay in what
It's comfortable.
they stay in the gap. They stay in the gap. They worry about what they didn't get done and not worry about what they did get done. They stay in that 80%. They're all, I'm safe. I'm good. 80. I got 80% of what I need. Go for 20, bro. Forget the 80. That 20 will take out that 80.
You feel amazing.
Yeah.
And you'll definitely push yourself to a place that you didn't think you can go. And it's just a step, because you get there and the next thing you know, you're like, well, maybe I could get here. Maybe I could get here. And that's, the ultra successful, the ultra rich, whatever you want to call them, the elites. We all get in these conspiracy theory ways of they hold us down and whatnot. I figured it out. They don't hold us down. They just realize that we will hold ourselves down. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in, you can be super rich and super successful, whether you're painting cabinets or, doing concrete or, anything. There is a 1% in every single category. And it's up to you to get there. Nobody's going to do it for you, and none of it's luck. None of it's luck.
You got to work your butt off.
Yeah.
So what about, I know we've been doing a lot of business talk, but I always like to do outside. What's Mike outside of the painting world? What's family life? What's a passion that you have that might look at you weird and sideways and go, what?
Man, I would say right now, really my only passion, my only outside of work, because I am emerged, is probably just being able to spend some time with the family. I don't get to see my kids anywhere near as much as I should. And, like this weekend, I was able to be home all 3 days, and it was amazing.
Yeah. You guys go camping or boat people? What do you guys like to do anything like that?
No, we like to be outdoors, definitely. Nothing too crazy, just because the twins are 2.5 and they're nuts.
Boys, girls?
I got a boy and a girl. Yeah, a boy and a girl. So it's just spending time with them, and I know it sounds crazy, but like that's amazing to me, because I've been in that position for the last 1.5 years where I rarely am home when they wake up. I'm rarely home when they go to bed. There's a lot of time I'm spending on the weekends doing things. So I pretty much will just do whatever the wife says to do when I have free time. And that's really it.
I took the summer off. I did a few podcast recordings, but I didn't push it. It wasn't crazy. I did like one a week maybe. But didn't do anything this summer. Let the kids stay home. I stayed home with the kids, and it's pretty freaking awesome. I mean, I wanted to kill them a couple times. There's no doubt about that, but it was still a lot of fun. I mean, something they'll probably remember, and then I'll remember for a long time, because my son's 7, my daughter's 3. You can't get that time back. So, I mean, I say the more time you can spend with them. An entrepreneur once told me, there's not any business that has to be started at 20 or 30 that can't be started at 40. Your success is not going to be any different. So if his process was, if you slow down your business to spend time with your kids till they're like 10 or 7 or 8, when they, don't like you anyways, then you can push that 3 to 5 years, 6 years. It's not going to be any different, but you have all those memories with your kids, and your kids have those memories. And I really kind of, learned that late. I was kind of like, crap, wish I would have, because when my son was younger, a lot of work growing the business. And even on the manufacturing side, it's traveling and all the time. And then it just kind of hit me like, I think he's right. Like there's something to that. You could start something at 40 and it could take off in 10 years and be 50. I mean, what's the difference in?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And that was what I learned through Rossi Kitchen and Bath is I pissed away so much of my life trying to build it to where when I did cabinet coats, I realized like the number one thing is systems and processes to pull yourself away from it. And then, again, I know I'm not always involved with them all the time, but that's how I've got it set up to plow through what I've got to plow through now. And I'm able to see the light at the tunnel now, and I expedited what probably should have taken 5 years. I've gotten done in 2.5 years. And that is every day reminding myself what the goal is: family. The goal is not money. The goal is not success. The goal is not building the biggest cabinet refinishing company around here, even though, yes, those are goals. The goal is family,
freedom. That was mine when I left. It's family and freedom. That's what I want. I got to figure out, still working on getting there. Podcast, whether it's the podcast or, an RV resort or another type of business, who knows, but a hands-off business that can run itself where I just have family and freedom.
Yeah. Well, and you're already halfway there because 95% of people just talk about it and they don't ever even start aligning those things, and they get cold feet or it's always just something of a next year thing, and, like I said, I did that with Rossi Construction and I just didn't want to do that with this. You got to learn from your mistakes, or
that's how you move forward. So
yeah. Exactly.
Well, man, I don't want to keep you too much longer, Mike. I appreciate you coming on. I mean, this was an awesome talk. Well, I know we got cabinet painting in, but I like getting into the entrepreneurship and the mindset, because I think a lot of people are struggling with how to get to that mindset. So being able to, chat with you on that to get people to convert over to the thinking of being an entrepreneur and not a painter. Like, you're not a painter. You're a business owner. You're an entrepreneur. Let's get into that mindset. It changes things. It changes your thought process as far as, like you said, family, time, money, having freedom from all of those things. But last words of wisdom for the finishing community.
Just do everything you don't think you want to do. And like I said earlier, it's all on. Everything is obtainable if you just work at it and don't waste time um, focusing on things that don't matter, because these are the mistakes that I've made. I would be on top of the guys. I'd be doing this, just continue to push to grow the business and not work in the business. Even if you're a solopreneur, and you're just by yourself, you still have to make sure that you're working on the business. That to me is the absolute most important thing, because you will become a slave to your business. And we've all been there way too many times for way too long. And that's not success. That's just being a glorified employee for yourself. And that's not why we got into this. We got in this to be the best that we could be. And it sounds cheesy, but it's literally what I have to tell myself every single day. And know that it's going to be hard. It's every day is hard. It's, like I said earlier, what hard do you want? Do you want to be unsuccessful hard, or you want to be successful hard? You just got to choose.
If it was easy,
you
wouldn't have corporations with tens of thousands of employees. So
yeah, exactly.
If you guys aren't following Mike, man, get out there. Instagram. Are you on Facebook too?
Yeah. I'm on Facebook.
Instagram. Is Mike Rossi, or shoot out your socials so everybody can make sure they're following you?
Our Instagram is Cabinet Coats Chicago. And it's the same thing for Facebook. And then my personal is Mike Rossi. But yeah, it's Cabinet Coats Chicago.
Yeah. Make sure you guys are following him. His ads are great. Great content out there. I love it. I love your enthusiasm on your ads. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. I thank you for listening. Thank you for coming on the Bearded Finisher podcast, Mike. It was a great conversation, and let's plan on a recap here in the next 6 months and see how things are progressing.
For sure. I appreciate you having me, my man.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later.
And that's a wrap on this episode of the Bearded Finisher podcast. We thank everyone for joining. Keep hustling, keep learning, and never settle for anything less than your best. Remember, the path to perfection is a journey, not a destination. Until next time.